Flippy piece of hair. Flippy piece of hair. Flippy, flippy hair. Flip. Hello peoples, welcome back to Full Metal Friday. Last week at the very end of the video, I talked about the possibility of maybe doing some circle breakdown analyses. That's not going to happen this week. I am working on a circle breakdown of Mustang's Flame Alchemy Transmutation Circle, but these videos are really a beast to edit. Like, the last two Full Metal Fridays took me days to put together and to edit and to film and just everything. So today I'm gonna do something kind of fun, kind of a game type of thing. I've seen several other YouTubers do games like this to kill time when they have no idea what else to make a video of, and yes, I am copying them. I will admit right now, I am copying. But at any rate, the game we're gonna be playing is Google Autofill, where we're going to go into Google and type in the first half of a question and a letter and see what Google Autofill comes up with for a question for me to answer, and I will answer it to the best of my ability as accurately as I can. So the question we're going to ask Google Autofill is, does Edward Elric? And we're going to fill in, does Edward Elric A, and see what it comes up with, B, see what it comes up with, and all the way through the alphabet until we hit Z. And then we're done. So let's see. Now, unfortunately, the glasses are gonna have to be on because I cannot see my freaking hand in front of my face without them. Let's see here. Letter A, does Edward Elric... Google sometimes messes up the questions. Do Edward Elric and Winry get married? Yes. At the very end of the outro in Brotherhood, we see a beautiful, happy family photo of Edward and Winry smiling and holding two beautiful babies, and you can clearly see a wedding ring on Edward's finger. So yes, Edward Elric and Winry do get married. Does Edward get alchemy back? In Brotherhood, after he loses it, he loses it. No, he does not get alchemy back. In 2003, it's a little bit more complicated because he goes to the other side of the gate, the Our World place, and he can't use alchemy there. Then he goes back to the world of Fullmetal Alchemist and is able to use alchemy, but then comes back to the other side of the gate and then can't use alchemy. So sort of in Conqueror of Shambhala, but at the very end, no matter which way you cut it, Edward is without alchemy. Edward Elric becomes stronger. He is constantly getting stronger. He is constantly working and striving and getting stronger physically, mentally, and emotionally throughout the course of both anime. Does Edward Elric become a homunculus? Okay, just in case you are just now setting foot in the Fullmetal Alchemist fandom, there is a fan-made point-and-click adventure-style game called Bluebird's Illusion, in which there are 3 possible endings, one of which includes Edward becoming the new Pride, much in the same way that Ling became Greed. Whether you like Bluebird's Illusion or not, it's extremely popular. Just go on to DeviantArt. Half of the freaking Fullmetal Alchemist fan art is Bluebird's Illusion related. And the Pride ending is, in my humble opinion, blatant yaoi bait fan service. And whether you like Bluebird's Illusion or not, it's not canon. So to answer the question at hand, does Edward become a homunculus? No. Does Edward Elric get back to his world? We've already sort of touched on this. Yes, but then he has to go back. Does Edward Elric come back to life? Ooh. Oh, the beautiful mindfuckery that is the end of 2003. Can we touch on this later? Can we talk about this later, please? I'm not going to be able to escape this question. Does Edward Elric come back to life? Does Edward Elric come back? Okay. Episode 51 of 2003, obviously Edward dies. But then Al does a thing because he's... I don't know, I guess there's a point where the soul is kind of in limbo, which, while we're at that point, I guess if we have a Philosopher's Stone in play, which we did at the end of 2003, I guess we can drag it back if it's still in limbo and hasn't finished crossing over. But I'm going to have to really look into that, because of course I've seen it, I've watched it a dozen times over, but I haven't really delved into and analyzed that, so I'm going to have to do that later, possibly in another video. D. Again, does Edward die? Does Edward die? Does Edward die? Does Edward die in the manga? No. Any question as to whether or not Edward died or is dead or stops being dead at any point is going to arise from 2003, not the manga and or Brotherhood. Letter E. Does Edward Elric ever grow? Yes, he grows. The best comparison to see just how much Edward has grown physically, height-wise, is going to be looking at two scenes side by side, one from episode 9, Created Feelings, and one from episode 46, Looming Shadows. In both of these episodes, we have scenes where Edward and Winry are standing face to face arguing. And in episode 9, Winry has several inches, almost a half a foot height over Edward, whereas in episode 46, the positions are completely reversed. They're, again, standing face-to-face arguing, but we don't notice until this scene that Edward has had a major growth spurt the spring of the year he turned 16, and he has almost a half a foot over Winry. So yes, Edward does grow. He even grows in 2003 because in Conqueror of Shambhala, Mustang is teasing him that he's grown in all these years, and Edward shoots back with an equally snarky comment, and they have their usual banter there. So to answer the question at hand, does Edward ever grow? Yes, Edward grows. Who does Edward Elric end up with? Once again, we've already discussed this. He does marry Winry. In 2003, this is unspecified, although personally I ship him with Noah, but it is okay if you do not. What episode does Edward become a state alchemist? In 2003, this is shown in episode 6, The Alchemy Exam, and in Brotherhood, it is in episode 2. What is the name of that episode? I'm trying not to look at my notes. My memory is garbage. I apologize. Episode 2, The First Day. What episode is Edward Elric? We've already discussed this. That would be episode 51 of 2003. What episode does Edward Elric fight Roy Mustang? That would be in 2003, episode 13, Full Metal vs. Flame. Personally, my favorite episode of 2003. Letter F. Does Edward Elric fall in love? I think we've already answered this question. Does Edward Elric find his dad? Yes. In both anime series, Edward is begrudgingly reunited with Hohenheim. Will Edward Elric fall in love with you? No. I don't think he'd even like me. Edward Elric, fight Roy Mustang. We've answered both of those questions. Moving on. Letter G. Does Edward Elric get a girlfriend? Well, he marries Winry by the end of Brotherhood. So, obviously. Does Edward Elric get older? We start the series with Edward becoming a state alchemist at the age of 12, and by the end of Brotherhood, he is 16, and he's 18 by the epilogue. And in 2003, in Conqueror of Shambhala, he specifically says out loud that he is 18 years old. So yes, he does get older. Does Edward Elric grow? We've answered this question. Does Edward get his powers back? No. Okay, we've already answered these questions. I'm noticing a trend here with a lot of these questions just being same question asked different ways. So we'll move on from here. Letter H. Does Edward Elric have a son? In the family picture that we've already talked about 3 times, he is holding his son. So, yes. Does Edward Elric have a middle name? There are no specified middle names at all in all of Fullmetal Alchemist. And I know that I don't think they have middle names in Japan, which is obviously where this is made, so I don't believe that anybody in this series has a middle name. So I'm going to go ahead and say no, he does not have a middle name. We've already answered both of these 2 questions. Edward gets alchemy bags. Edward loses alchemy. Yes. In either anime, by the end, no alchemy for Edward. Last question, does Edward get his arm and leg? In 2003 in Conqueror of Shambhala, no. In Brotherhood, arm yes, leg no. There was nothing noteworthy for I. And for J, what does the symbol on Edward's jacket mean? Oh, this is a good question, actually, one I know the answer to. I'm going to rush through this explanation, make it very short. In the biblical account of Moses leading his people to the Promised Land, at one point the land was plagued with possessed serpents, and God told Moses to crucify the serpents to rid the land of demonic presence. And so the symbol of the crucified serpent, otherwise known as the flamel, has come to represent the purging of impurity. And that is the symbol that is on Edward's jacket. Letter K. Does Edward kiss Winry? Unfortunately, we do not get to see this happen, but given the fact that they end up married with children, we can assume that kissing and more happen off-screen. Does Edward ever kiss Winry? Does Edward Elric kill? In 2003, he kills Greed and Sloth, so yes. There's nothing noteworthy that we haven't already discussed under L, so moving on to M. Does Edward Elric meet his father? We've already discussed this, yes. Who does Edward Elric marry in Brotherhood? Winry, obviously, as we've discussed before. In 2003, this is unspecified. I ship what I ship, you ship what you ship. We'll all be a happy shipping family. How did Edward Elric's mom die? In 2003, it's very, very vague as to what sickness she actually had, how she got it, if it was genetic, if it was communicable, if it was some kind of chronic illness. But in Brotherhood, I think it's episode 2, the beginning of episode 2, Edward's narrative states that there was an epidemic